Noah Walker never imagined one small turn could change the entire rhythm of his life. He had walked that same street in Seattle hundreds of times after work, always following the same route, always lost in the same quiet thoughts. But that night felt different from the moment he stepped outside the bookstore. The air carried a heavy mist, the kind that coated everything with a silver shine. The city lights blurred against the fog, and the sidewalks felt emptier than usual. Maybe that was why he took the shortcut through the narrow alley, something he never did. Maybe he was tired of patterns, or maybe without knowing it. He was walking toward someone he was meant to meet. The alley was dim, with only one flickering light at the far end. Noah pulled his jacket tighter and kept moving, his mind cycling through the usual worries: his small studio apartment, his quiet weekends, and the feeling that life was happening somewhere else without him. He wasn't unhappy, but he didn't feel fully alive either. He often wondered if he was simply drifting through days instead of living them. Then he heard footsteps. Quick ones. They echoed sharply against the narrow brick walls. Before he had time to react, someone turned the corner fast and nearly collided with him. A woman froze in front of him. Her breath came out in short bursts. Her eyes were wide, startled, but not frightened, just shaken. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "I didn't see you." Noah stepped back, giving her space. "It's okay. Are you all right?" She wasn't crying, but her eyes held the shine of someone fighting back emotions. The mist in the alleys softened everything around them, and for a moment it looked like she had walked out of a different world and landed in his. "I just needed a minute to think," she said, taking a deep breath. "Just 1 minute away from everything." Her coat wasn't zipped. Her gloves were stuffed into her pockets, and her hair looked wind-tossed, not the messy kind, but the kind that happens when someone's mind is running faster than their steps. Noah didn't know her, but he felt the weight she carried. It's like a storm sitting silently inside her. He didn't ask questions. He didn't want to make anything harder for her. The woman offered a small, apologetic smile. "I'm Emma Brooks." "Noah," he said gently. It was the simplest exchange, but something shifted inside that quiet moment. It wasn't romantic, not yet. It wasn't dramatic or bold. It was something more delicate, like the first breath of calm after hours of tension. Emma looked around the alley as if she had forgotten why she ran there in the first place. "This place is quiet," she murmured. "It feels separate from everything else." "Usually is," Noah said. "Most people avoid it." She let out a soft laugh. "I guess I'm not most people tonight." She wasn't. And Noah could tell. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable lit. Felt like a pause the universe had placed there on purpose. The kind of silence that lets two strangers recognize something familiar in each other, even if they don't know what it is yet. Emma finally broke it. "Do you ever have a day that just does something to you? Not in a dramatic way, just..." She waved her hand in the air, searching for the right word. "Heavy." "Yeah," Noah said. "Too many days like that?" She looked up at him as if those words alone made her feel a little less alone. He could tell she didn't want to explain the details. She didn't need to. There are moments when a person doesn't want advice or analysis. They just want someone to stand still with them until they can breathe again. Noah did exactly that. Emma inhaled slowly and exhaled shakily, like she was trying to steady herself. She didn't break down. She didn't crumble. But she was clearly holding something fragile inside her. And strangely, she didn't try to hide it. Maybe because Noah wasn't judging her. Maybe because he wasn't pushing. Or maybe because pain feels lighter when someone simply shares the air with you. Something softened on her face. "Most people would have just walked past me." "I'm not most people either," Noah said with a small smile. That made her smile back. It wasn't a bright smile. It was small, worn, but real. A quiet thank you hidden inside an expression. The mist thickened, wrapping around them like a soft blanket. It made the alley feel even more isolated, as though time had slowed just for them. Emma watched the ground for a moment, tracing the cracks in the pavement with her eyes. "I didn't expect to tell anyone anything tonight," she whispered. "I wasn't planning to talk." I wasn't planning to stop running. You don't have to tell me anything, Noah replied. You're allowed to just stand. Those simple words touched her more than he realized. She exhaled again, deeper this time, as though she was letting go of a piece of whatever had been crushing her chest. Thank you, she said quietly. You didn't try to fix me. You just stayed. Noah shrugged gently. Sometimes staying is the only thing that matters. Emma stepped a tiny bit closer, not in a romantic way, but with the closeness of someone seeking a little warmth, a little steadiness. It wasn't physical contact. It wasn't bold. It was simply human. A small, instinctive movement toward a person who felt safe in a moment when everything else felt shaky. Noah didn't move. He didn't shift away or freeze. He simply let her exist in that space beside him. The soft glow of the alley light touched her face, revealing the slightest tremble of her lips, not from the cold, but from something heavier. Yet she stood straight, shoulders back, holding herself as best she could. What were you thinking about before I ran into you? She asked suddenly. Life, he answered honestly. And how it feels like I'm waiting for something I don't understand. Emma nodded slowly. Maybe we're all waiting for something. Her eyes lifted to meet his, and something silent passed between them. Not attraction. Not romance, something more subtle. Recognition, two quiet souls standing in an alley neither of them planned to enter. Finding something they didn't know they needed. She wrapped her arms around herself, finally reacting to the cold. I should probably get back to the street. I can't stay hidden here forever. Do you want me to walk with you? Noah asked. He didn't say it out of obligation. He didn't say it because it felt heroic. He said it because he didn't want her to walk out of that alley feeling alone again. Emma hesitated. Her eyes softened with gratitude. With relief she tried to hide. Yeah, she said. I'd like that. They began walking toward the brighter street at the end of the alley. Their steps slow, unhurried. The world felt lighter than when they first collided. Emma walked with her head a little higher, her shoulders a little straighter. Noah felt something warm in his chest. Quiet awareness that something meaningful had just happened. They reached the end of the alley. And for a heartbeat, Emma paused before stepping into the open streetlights. She turned to Noah with a look he couldn't quite interpret, part hope, part sadness, part curiosity. This wasn't how my night was supposed to go, she said softly. But maybe that's okay. Noah nodded. Sometimes the wrong turn is the right moment. Emma smiled again, small but sincere. She took one step forward, stopping just under the street lamp, looking almost like she was entering a different world again, and Noah realized something he hadn't expected. He didn't want this moment to end. He didn't want to forget her face or the way she looked at him. He didn't want her to disappear back into the world before he understood why fate had brought her into that alley. But before he could say anything, Emma looked back at him. Noah, she said softly, thank you for being the first person who made me feel seen today. And in that quiet, fragile moment, Noah understood the truth. What happened in that alley wasn't dramatic. It wasn't romantic. It was the first time in a long time that two strangers allowed each other to be real. The first time Noah felt chosen. And the first time Emma allowed herself not to hide, and neither of them knew it yet. But this was only the beginning of something neither had ever experienced before. The city lights felt softer as Noah and Emma stepped out of the alley. The mist lingered around them, clinging to their coats and hair like a thin, magical veil. The cold air nipped at their cheeks, but it didn't matter. Neither of them rushed. The quietness of the streets seemed to stretch time, giving them a rare chance to walk beside each other without the usual distractions. In those moments, the world felt smaller, as if only they existed. Emma's pace was slow, careful. She kept glancing at the ground, tracing cracks in the pavement. Noah noticed how her hands fidgeted inside her coat pockets, the way her shoulders tensed and relaxed with each step. It was clear that she was carrying a weight that wasn't just about the cold. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. He had learned in the alley that sometimes people need someone to just walk beside them, to exist in the same space without judgment or pressure. That alone could be enough to make a difference. After a few blocks, she finally spoke. I, I can't remember the last time I felt like this, she said softly. Not rushed, not scared, not pretending everything is fine. Her voice was fragile but steady. She didn't look up. She just spoke into the misty night, letting her words float freely. Noah nodded. Sometimes life is heavy, and we keep carrying it alone because we think no one else understands. But you're allowed to put the weight down, even for a moment. Emma looked at him then, her eyes catching the glow of the streetlights. There was a brief hesitation, as though she was deciding whether she could trust him with her truth. Finally, she sighed. My fiancé ended things an hour ago. Out of the blue. He said I wasn't the same person anymore. Noah's chest tightened, not with jealousy, but with empathy. He understood what it meant to feel invisible to someone who once mattered. I'm sorry, he said quietly. That must hurt. Emma laughed softly, almost bitterly. It does. I thought we were happy, or at least heading somewhere. But I guess he didn't feel the same. Her voice cracked for a second, and she looked away, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. Then she forced herself to smile. Tonight, I didn't expect to feel even a little relief. But here I am, in the middle of the city, standing with a stranger who doesn't even know me, and I feel lighter. Noah didn't speak immediately. He simply listened, letting her words sink into the night. He noticed how the tension in her shoulders was slowly easing, how her steps were a little steadier. There was a rhythm to the walk now, quiet but alive, like two people learning to exist in the same world without fear. You know, he said after a moment, sometimes the first person who sees you without judgment becomes unforgettable, even if nothing else happens. His voice was soft, but there was honesty in it. No fluff, no empty comfort. Just truth. Emma's eyes met his. There was a pause, a shared acknowledgement that this was real. She swallowed hard. You make it sound so simple, but it's not. I've spent years pretending to be fine, pretending everything is okay, and now it's like I don't have to. Her lips quivered slightly, and she looked down. Not even with a stranger, but somehow with you. It feels safe. Noah smiled gently. I'm glad. That's enough for now. No promises, no advice. Just presence. Emma's face softened. Presence is rare, she admitted. More rare than love sometimes. She laughed lightly, a sound mixed with amusement and sadness. Funny, isn't it? I just met you, and I'm talking like I've known you forever. Maybe we needed to, Noah said quietly. Sometimes the universe introduces people in the strangest ways at the strangest moments. They walked in silence for a few minutes, letting the city noises drift around them. Cars passed quietly, their headlights reflecting on wet streets. The occasional passerby glanced at them, but no one intruded. It felt private, intimate in a way that didn't need physical closeness or words. Emma finally spoke again. Do you think people are afraid of being seen because they've been hurt? Or because they're afraid of hurting someone else? Her tone was reflective, almost philosophical. She seemed to be asking herself more than asking him. Noah considered this for a moment. Maybe both. And sometimes we don't even realize it until someone else shows us that it's safe to try again. Emma stopped walking abruptly. Noah halted as well, unsure if she wanted to continue. She turned to him, her eyes glistening with something unspoken. I haven't let anyone in for a long time. Tonight, I didn't even plan to. And yet, here I am. She took a deep breath. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I feel like I can trust someone. Noah nodded. You don't have to explain. You don't have to be perfect or brave. Just allow yourself to be seen. That's enough. Emma smiled again. This time, it was more genuine, less guarded. I didn't realize a stranger could do this, she said softly. Not fix me. Not tell me what to do. Just exist with me while I'm broken. And it feels lighter. Noah felt warmth in his chest he hadn't anticipated. It wasn't romantic in the traditional sense. It wasn't love at first sight, It was something quieter, deeper, connection, understanding, human empathy. It was the realization that sometimes the right person comes into your life not to sweep you off your feet, but to stand beside you until you're ready to walk on your own again. They continued walking, eventually finding a small cafe that stayed open late. The soft glow of its lights spilled onto the sidewalk, inviting them inside. Emma hesitated at the door, then looked at Noah. "Would you like some coffee?" she asked. Her voice was tentative, almost shy. "I'd like that," Noah said. They entered together, shaking off the mist and the cold. The warmth of the cafe enveloped them, the smell of coffee and pastries mingling with the quiet hum of late-night patrons. It wasn't crowded, which made it feel like a secret place. Haven carved out just for them. They found a small corner table far from anyone else. Noah ordered coffee for both of them, and they sat down, each holding a warm cup between their hands. The quiet comfort of the moment wrapped around them. Neither rushed to speak, allowing the space to breathe. Emma finally exhaled, a long, soft release of tension. "I never thought tonight would turn out like this," she said. "I expected to come home, cry, and feel worse. Instead, I feel like I can breathe again." Noah nodded. "That's a start. Sometimes that's all it takes. One small moment of relief, one small act of understanding can change everything." Emma's eyes softened. "You don't know what a gift that is. Most people would have walked past me without a second thought. But you stayed. And you didn't judge. You didn't try to fix me. You just let me exist." He smiled. "Sometimes that's the most anyone can do. Let people exist. Let them feel. Let them be human." Emma looked at him for a long moment. The vulnerability in her eyes was quiet but powerful. I think I forgot what it felt like to be seen," she whispered. Noah's heart tightened. "You're seen," he said gently. "By me. Right now." The simplicity of his words hit her harder than any advice, any cliché, any comforting phrase she'd heard in weeks. She felt a tear form, but she didn't wipe it away. She let it fall, letting herself feel the relief and recognition of being understood without judgment. For Noah, the moment was just as profound. He hadn't expected to feel this connection with a stranger. And yet, there was no confusion, no pressure, no expectation. Just presence. Just honesty. Just the human experience of two people meeting in the right place at the right time. They talked quietly for hours, though the hours felt like minutes. Emma shared pieces of her story, not her entire life, just the parts she felt safe enough to reveal. Noah listened. He shared small details about his life, his quiet struggles, his own sense of being lost sometimes. It wasn't deep confessions or dramatic revelations. It was simple, real, human. Outside, the city carried on, indifferent to the small miracle unfolding in the corner of that cafe. But inside, time slowed. Space became intimate. Two strangers became companions, if only for a night. The pain that Emma had carried didn't disappear, but it softened, lightened by the presence of someone who cared without needing anything in return. Finally, Emma looked at him and smiled softly. "I think this is the first time I felt like I might be okay again," she admitted. "Not because my problems are gone, but because someone sees me. And that makes everything possible." Noah reached across the table, lightly touching her hand. It wasn't bold, it wasn't romantic, it was gentle, human, an acknowledgement of shared understanding. Emma didn't pull away. She let it rest there, a quiet anchor. A promise that even strangers can matter in ways we don't expect. And in that moment, Noah realized something he hadn't realized before. The best beginnings aren't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they are quiet, gentle, patient. They start in alleys with mist and fear, continue on empty streets, and bloom in the warm glow of a cafe late at night. They start with seeing someone, truly seeing them, and letting them exist without judgment. Emma squeezed his hand gently, then let it go. "Thank you," she said again, "for tonight, for just being here." Noah nodded. "Thank you for letting me be." They sat for a few more moments in silence, sipping their coffee. The weight of the world outside didn't disappear, but inside they both felt lighter. The night had changed them. Not in a flashy, dramatic way, not with promises or declarations, but in the quiet recognition of human connection, trust, and empathy. When they finally left the cafe, the streets were almost empty.